And hello, everyone, and welcome to Book Talks with Keith. I'm your host, J. Keith Brown. I'm so glad you could join me for this podcast episode. And I've got a fabulous guest to introduce to you today. Her name is Yasmine Brown. So, Yasmine, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Keith, for having me.
Uh, I appreciate you being on, Yasmine. And one of the things that I mentioned to you even before I hit the record button was that I really like for the listener or the watcher, if it's on YouTube, to get a chance to know the author more personally. Because I don't know about you, but I think even when I read books, the more that I know about an author, who they are, and a little bit about them, it sort of brings their books to life for me a little more. So let's do that for the listener. Would you share just let us know a little bit more about who Yasmine Brown is?
Well, my name is Yasmine Brown. I am from McKeesburg, Pennsylvania, and I currently live in Elizabeth. And I'm a mother of three, and I started writing in about 2018. Um, I guess professionally, really started writing when I was a lot younger, probably about six. When I discovered writing and trying to fill out the poetry sector of writing with like roses are red, violets are blue, I see something blue in you, or whatever the case may be. It was
Right.
just ad libbing on roses are red. So that's kind of how I got started. Um, and then my first book was published based off of my personal life experience. And I just took some things I put in my journal and turned it into a Deliverance series.
Explain that a little bit more, how that became this series and what does it mean, Deliverance series?
So originally, it started out as I started journaling just for healing.
Okay.
And then after going back and reading everything I wrote, I just figured, like, if I'm going through this, then it seems to me that this could be something that can help someone else going through something similar or just
Well,
trying to move forward in their life.
let me interrupt you for just a moment, if you may. My listener is, are you free to talk about the this that you're talking about as far as the struggle? Is that something that you're willing to share? Because you don't have to, I'm just asking.
Sure. It's public knowledge because I published a book. So I talk about in my first three books that I ever wrote, I talk about abuse, and that is something that I was being delivered from, and I was working on healing at the time over the course of about 10 or more years. And I was just
Mm.
trying to get myself together and be able to explore who I was um, after abuse and
You're
how
talking
I
about
felt.
I'm sorry, you're talking about relational abuse, is that what I assume?
Physical and also sexual. So I was trying to be able to move forward
Gotcha.
um, after that and trying to just get myself together mentally, spiritually, emotionally, mind,
Mhm.
body, and spirit, and just become my best self.
And so I get the journaling aspect of that. I certainly understand, having that type of background in my life about, healing and all that. Um, what made you decide to take something that was obviously, I know you said you thought it might help somebody else, but sometimes I have to ask, what drove you to take something that is so personal, obviously, the way that you get hurt and the things you've gone through, and be willing to put that out to the world and let other people in that experience? There had to be something in you that said, I'm willing to do that, because there's a lot of bravery in that, actually.
During the process of journaling and then writing, I discovered that it had a method to it for me to actually get to the healing process. So, what I mean by method, methodology that I actually discovered out of it was it's face it, speak it, heal from it. So
Okay,
I
say
was
that again. Say that again, please.
face it,
Mhm.
speak it, heal from it.
Gotcha. Okay.
So during that process, I was able to, I didn't physically face the people that actually hurt me, but I was able to face what I had been through.
Gotcha.
So by me facing what I had been through, I was able to give it a voice through writing.
Mm. Mhm.
And then I was able to get to the process of healing by just speaking my truth. So that's how I came up with that method.
So when did you actually write so how many books are in this process? How many books are in the works there?
There actually is 3 books.
Okay. So you have already written and published 3 books related to this issue?
Yes, there's three
Okay.
books, and then there's a journal.
Okay. Tell us a little bit about each of those books and how they relate to the struggle and what the hope or the desire for each of those books is for the reader, if you can.
So with the first book, I talk more about uh, the sexual abuse aspects of what I was going through and how I was processing it mentally. And silence was basically how I processed that portion of my life. And hence the name of the book is The Silent Destruction. So being silent was destroying me in the inside.
Sure.
So that was how I came up with the concept of that first book. And then the second book is called Red Flags, and it was just going through a process of physical abuse. And I wasn't aware of the signs
Mm.
that you go through in physical abuse before it actually become physical. There's signs, there's telltale signs, and I didn't know those signs. So that is more so what I talk about in the second book. And then the last book, which is Deliverance, it is how I was able to move forward through the whole process and just find myself and discover myself spiritually, mentally, physically, and just work on myself, which is a continuous process for
Right.
anyone.
Hmm.
And healing is a process, and it's not a process that you stop, it's a daily process. So you have to work on yourself each day.
Right. For sure. Healing is a lifelong thing that we do for sure, no matter what the trauma is in our lives. So I really like that. So there's a three, so it's a currently a three. Do you have any plans of writing a fourth?
I actually decided to take those 3 books and put them all together
Oh,
and rename the book, which is going to come out in 2024, and call the book Hush, the whole entire book, and just call it
okay.
Hush. So there will be some additional takeaways. Things will be a little bit more, we'll say, detailed. It will also have a lot more nuggets for young adults that we can relate to, especially even as a parent, that you may go through as a parent with your um, teenage child. So there's going to be a lot of emotions to it. There's going to be a lot of happiness to it. So with this revamp or relaunch of these 3 books, I wanted to tackle basically the 5 senses um, with the book and touch a different audience. It's been what, about 5, 6 years
Hmm.
since the first 3 books
First
were
one.
published.
Yeah.
So I would like to, roll the book out again to capture a new audience with a new aspect and a bigger voice.
Right. Well, I really like the way you laid it out though, because you've got 3 books. One of them you're laying the foundation and you're touching on the sexual aspect, which is a lot of times what people think about when they think of abuse. And then you're going into other physical abuses. So you're laying the groundwork in these two books and connecting with your audience, it seems to me, because I'm sure that that is connectable to a lot of people. And then the third book, you're taking what you have learned and the foundation you lay and say, okay, this is where we are. This is what we deal with. Now, this is where we get healing. This is how we get healing. This is how I got healing. And this is what you can do. So as you were writing these, Yasmin, and as you are trying now to put this whole collection into um, one volume, what who do who is your who's that person that you're truly trying to reach, do you think? Do you have a particular ideal reader in your head as you wrote those books and as you're putting this volume together, that you feel like, this is the perfect book for this type of person?
I would say for those three books, and even just re-rolling or relaunching the book out as Hush, my targeted audience is young girls and young adults, from the ages, I would say about 16 um, to probably like mid 20s, that are going through adversity, not
Mhm.
sure how to process the adversity, and looking for a way to move forward. And it's not just abuse, it's a way, the book is a way to basically target the emotions and help you process what you are feeling to be able to get to that next step or that next level. Because I do talk about, in the book, how, sitting with those feelings and not being able to find a voice to those feelings, it destroys you inside and out, and you act
Sure.
out in various ways that you don't realize is related to those past traumas.
Mhm.
So that is, something that I'm trying to relate to young women, that you can sit in your feelings. It's okay to sit in your feelings, but it's okay to process your feelings too.
Yeah, if we just sit in them and we don't work towards doing something with them, then we tend to just stuff them and we tend to bury them. And ultimately, we try to deny them. And all we do is wind up turning all that hurt and trauma inward and really hurt ourselves in the long term. And so I'm glad, I really like the fact that you're trying to help young women, especially, have a voice to know that, look, you don't have to suffer in silence. You can understand what's going on with you. You can see this stuff that's happening in your life. You can give a voice to that. You can give understanding to that. You can do something about it. You can take power in your life. You can do all these things. And that's what I hear resonating with you, coming from your heart and your experience and your, hopefully your writing is what you want to reach those young people and just say, I lovingly want you to know this. And you're doing that with pen. So I really like that very much. And what do you hope is accomplished by people reading this book? Well, I know that you wanted to tell your story, and in that aspect alone, there's healing for you, obviously. But
Right.
what do you want that reader to get from? I mean, if you could just say, this is what I want my reader to walk away with, what do you think that might be?
I want my reader or readers to walk
Yeah,
away
we
with
always want to say we always want more than one reader. So,
right.
yeah,
I
exactly.
I want them to find their inner roar. And what I
Mm,
mean by inner roar is I want them to find resilience, restoration, overcoming, and awareness, both in self, surroundings, education. I just want the reader to take away their own personal roar or discover their own personal roar. Either way.
very good, very good. Boy, it makes a good acrostic there. So I like that. So the reader, you hear that, readers, she wants you to come away with a roar of your own. I like that. When do you expect, Yasmin? Now I know, right? We're going to put the links to the books, the 3 volumes, in the show notes, so people can find those. If you're dealing with a struggle, if you've gone through sexual abuse, if you've gone through physical abuse, verbal abuse, if you feel powerless, if you are in this situation, then what I hear Yasmin saying is she wrote these books for you, to give you something to think about and a voice to get out to the world. So we're going to give you the links to those books in the show notes. So be sure to check those out. Yasmin, when do you expect to have I know you said 2024. Is there any time, better, more accurate time about when you hope to get that one volume
I
out?
I am actually shooting for April
Okay.
because that's Women's Month.
Okay.
So I am shooting for April, and then I will have something else coming out by October, which is actually Domestic Violence Month. So I'm shooting to have those 2 books rolled out for
So,
2024.
so what's the second book?
You never know who's watching.
Okay. Is that a fiction or nonfiction?
Everything I write is based off of my life and something that I've gone through in my life, but it may not be my personal story exactly, but it's all based off of my life.
Okay. So who's watching? Okay,
Yes.
that's an intriguing title for sure. You could go a lot of different ways with that, but so I don't know. That's going to be interesting. We have to have you back on to talk about that one when it all comes to be in print. So, is there anything that you want to share? Any other things you want to share with the listener about the books, and this is your chance to say, readers, plural. Um, this is what I have out there, and I really want you to read it, and this is why. What is, let's convince them, Yasmin. This is our shot to convince them that, you know, they should check out these books.
Okay, so readers, I actually would like you to check out any of my many of books. One of my best-selling books that I was involved in as a collaboration is Voices of the 21st Century: Women Who Rise in Resilient Women Who Rise and Make a Difference. Um, Also, The Silent Destruction, Red Flags, and also Deliverance. Once Hush come out, those 3 will no longer be available. So I encourage you in the month of April to purchase Hush, get out, get into it, read it, take away all the tips, nuggets, quotes that you can use for yourself, you can share with others. It is an active resource. So there will be resources as there were in the first 3 books. I included resources. So there will also be resources where, I mean, you can actually discreetly have resources in your house. If not for you, and you want to pass the information on to someone else, you can pass the information on to uh, others, because there is someone that is going through something
Oh yeah,
at all times.
for sure.
So if you can be a nugget to someone else, why not sow a seed?
Why not do it? All right.
So I just say that I encourage you all to read my work. I read from my heart. I mean, I write from my heart. I try to educate my readers as well as I'm educating myself in writing. And I just say, if you feel the need and you want to talk to me personally, I am also a certified life coach that specializes in trauma and resilience.
Nice.
So I,
Uh, That doesn't
I am
surprise me. No.
I'm here for you as the reader, as a person. If you just want to talk, if you want to, get in touch for consultation, that's fine. If we can work together, we'll work together. Even if you want to birth your own story and you want to write your own book, I'm here for you. So I just say that from the beginning, when you open the first page to the end, your takeaway is I'm here physically, emotionally, and metaphorically.
And at the end, you should be roaring, as she said earlier.
Right.
So in the meantime, you can pick up any of these books and you'll be able to get those from the links that we share in the show notes. And then in April, so one of the things obviously we want to make sure that you do is connect with Yasmin on her socials and anything like that, so you can stay connected with her. And she will share with you when the book comes out in April, so that you can grab the whole big volume if you'd like. And so you'll be aware of that. And I have to say, she's got a wonderful last name. I mean, I just endears her to me because of the last.
Thank you, Mr. Brown.
Yeah, that has nothing to do with anything, but it's just a good name. So, well, Yasmin, I really enjoyed talking to you. Hopefully, this wasn't a bad experience for you, and uh, I just really do appreciate the fact that you are trying to reach people that are hurting, and you really want to give them some help. And that's my heart too. That's what I actually do besides my writing professionally. So I'm very thankful for you doing that. And dear listener, I hope that you will check out these books and that you will support this author and her mission to empower and to encourage you to roar in your life and have a voice. So, Jasmine, any last thing you want to say before we end this conversation today?
Move forward in your roar.
Ah, very good, very good. You heard her. You heard her. Move forward in your roar. Yasmin, if you'll hold on a moment after I hit stop recording, we'll do a couple of housekeeping things. But dear listener, I really do appreciate you listening to this podcast. It's a new podcast. We're just getting it started. But what we're trying to do is bring great people like Yasmin to you to learn a little bit about them, their life, who they are as a person, and why they write what they write. And this is a great illustration you've heard today about what motivates that person to get on that computer and pour their heart, their soul, their mind, and everything in them onto that page. So, Jasmine, you've done a great job. Hang on, reader. Make sure you connect with her. Until next time, happy reading. Bye bye, my friend.